Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in this morning. If you're just joining us, let us know where you're tuning in from. I'd love to hear from you. We're live with 7 at 7. It's your first time. Good to have you. Good morning. Good morning from Vermont, from Clayton, from London, Lydia. Nice to see you. From Texas. It's pretty awesome. Jersey. Man, this is great. This is great. From Toronto, Canada, Florida, Australia. Some of you guys, it's not 7. From Pittsburgh. I'm from Pittsburgh. Nice to see you, Rita. Just wait just a second till everybody hops on here. Thanks for tuning in. Man, this is great. Mac, good to see you right here in Charlotte, Argentina. Everybody, that's awesome. Well, thanks for tuning in this morning. It's 7 at 7. My name is Chad Zolo. I am the online pastor here. So if you join us online, big shout out to our eFam. If you're part of our eFamily, our extended family here at Elevation, I wanted to welcome you. And it's good to be here with you. Stephen Finch, good to see you. We are in mile 4 of this 7-mile journey, and so we've been walking through this book, a book by Pastor Stephen. He wrote 7 Mile Miracle. It's all about the last 7 words of Jesus on the cross, and if you've been tuning in for the past couple of weeks, I hope that you've been blessed by it, and today is mile 4, day 25 of the 7-mile journey, where we're looking at the last 7 saying of Jesus on the cross, and we're talking about abandonment today. And man, when I started thinking about abandonment, I was like, wow, this is a tough subject to deal with. The great thing is at the very beginning of the chapter, you'd see that Jesus said on the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me? And the great thing, just right at the start, is that Jesus took on that feeling of loneliness, that feeling of emptiness, that sense of abandonment so that we don't have to. And so that's the whole premise of this mile 4. But when I thought about abandonment, when I was reading through the chapter, I thought about this story. When I was little, I was probably 6 or 7, I'm not really sure, but my mom took me to a store. I lived in upstate New York. I'm one of 6 kids, and so I probably had a brother or sister there with me. I'm not sure, but we went into this store, and my mom wanted to do some shopping, so she dropped us off, me and probably a couple of my siblings, at one of these play areas. So if you have kids, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a play area. You leave your kids there so that they'll be out of your hair while you're shopping for a little bit. If you don't have kids, you don't know what I'm talking about. Think of IKEA. You've walked in. There's that play area, ball pit. That's for kids to be left there. So my mom took us in, dropped me off. I'd never been to one of these areas before. I just remember feeling so scared. I go into this room. There's probably other people there, but there was one of those half doors, and the top is swung open, and I have my hands on the bottom part of the door, and I just remember standing there feeling like, oh man, my mom just left me here. I don't know anybody in the room. I'm so sad. I'm feeling so lonely. And I just remember standing there with my hands on that door, just crying, hoping that my mom comes back. And so what got me thinking about that story is when I was reading through this chapter, I got to the point where Pastor Stephen writes, he's letting you go through it because he knows you can handle it. And he said, pain is much more bearable when it serves a greater purpose. And I thought, man, that is so true. Pain is a lot more bearable when it serves a greater purpose. It made me think about like working out, right? If you've ever decided, okay, I'm going to start working out, you can see at the end of it maybe, or a couple months down the road, I'm going to start seeing some results. I'm going to start being in shape. It's difficult to go every single day to the gym, but I know at the end there's a good result. Or maybe it's, I want to start eating right. And I know that at the end of it, there's a good result. My body's going to be healthy. I'm going to cut sugars out, but it's tough in the moment. Easter time, walking by the candy aisle, don't want to dip into the Cadbury eggs or whatever. But I know at the other side of it, there's a good outcome. But here's the deal. What happens if you're feeling the sense of abandonment right now? You're feeling lonely or feeling like, man, I'm going through something right now and I do not see the other side of it. I don't see what's coming. I don't see the good in any of this. Well, here's what I thought of. I thought of in John 1:3, where he says, the testing of your faith develops perseverance. And it's really that word develops. It develops perseverance. Development isn't always a great word to hear, because here's the crappy part, is development happens a lot of times in a valley. It happens when you're alone. It happens maybe when things don't seem to be going the way that you want, but development happens a lot when you're down in a valley. And so I was thinking about it like this. Think about a mountain range where maybe you've seen a picture of one, or maybe you've hiked a mountain before. As you climb up to the top of the mountain, the terrain starts to feel pretty different. Not a lot can grow when you're up on top of the mountain. You're getting to the top, there's less trees, it's very rocky. The cool thing about being on top of a mountain is you can see for miles. You can see where you came from. You can see where you're going. It's able to shift your perspective quite a bit when you're on top of the mountain. But not a ton of growth happens up there. So you look down the mountain, maybe into a valley, and maybe you start walking down and things start growing. You start seeing some trees, maybe grass is growing. And the deeper you get in between the mountains into the valley, there is a lot of growth happening. That's because the terrain is just much more able to support and sustain growth. And so you get really deep and it's dark, and it's not really a place that you want to stay for a long time, but it's in the valley where growth occurs a lot. And so your perspective is able to shift when you're on the mountaintop. But I really believe that the potential of who it is that God is creating you to be is being developed in the valley. And sometimes, though, when you're in the valley, you might be in the situation, you feel alone. You feel like, man, nobody is here with me. Well, here's the good news. Jump back to the very beginning of the chapter. Jesus said, my God, why have you forsaken me? The good news is he's taken that on. He's taken on that feeling of loneliness so that you don't have to. And we know that in Deuteronomy 31:6, it says, for the Lord your God is with you. He will never leave you. He'll never forsake you. David says in Psalm 23, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I won't fear evil because I know that you're with me. So maybe you're feeling like you're alone right now, but you're not. God is with you. And here's the big takeaway. Here's what I just want you to walk away. If you haven't heard anything yet, hear this. God hasn't deserted you. He's developing you. God hasn't deserted you. He's developing you. Say that with me. I haven't been deserted. I'm being developed. Now, of course, my mom came back. I'm at the store. I've got my hands on this little half door. I'm waiting for my mom to come back. And I see her come around the corner. She shows up. It's that moment. It wasn't this big dramatic moment, but I remember her coming around. I see her in like immediate relief, right? There's this immediate relief when she comes around the corner that, okay, she's back. I was probably crying, tears dried up a little bit. I'm okay. But here's the crazy thing. I'm sure that moment happened again. I'm sure there was a time when my mom brought me to the store, dropped me off for just a little bit while she went and shopped around. But I don't remember it. I don't remember it happening again. And so the point is, I wouldn't say when I was 6 or 7 that I'm like, oh, well, I know I'm being developed in this moment. I wouldn't say that, but I will say that it instilled in me this idea that if my mom drops me off somewhere, she's going to come back. She's going to show up again. And so here's the deal. If you're feeling abandoned, Pastor also writes in the book, make sure that you stay in the Word. If you're feeling that moment of, man, I'm in this season, I'm not feeling developed, I don't feel like God's doing anything, I'm not hearing anything, stay in the Word. Stay reading the Bible every single day to see what it is that God would speak to you. It says stay surrounded by the Spirit. Well, what does that mean? Well, maybe that just means I want to be in a place where I can hear when God speaks to me. Maybe for you that's in your time of prayer. Maybe it's when you're listening to worship music. I think we just released a pretty amazing worship album. You can get that on iTunes. There's a cloud. Maybe it's while you're listening to worship music. And then surround yourself with the right people. And maybe you say, I don't have a lot of good people around me that are going to help me through a situation like that? Well, here at Elevation, whether you join us online or in person, we have e-groups, we have volunteering opportunities. You can get in an e-group and surround yourself with some great people that will help you with whatever season of life that you're going through. If you're watching online, go to elevationchurch.online, and we have online e-groups available for you to jump in and be a part of, and surround yourself with some people that can help you through that. But here's the deal. I want you just to remember that God hasn't deserted you. He's developing you in this moment. And so I appreciate you joining with us this morning here at 7 at 7. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you've been joining us all along, thanks for being here. If this is your first time, stay tuned in every single day. Don't forget, share a takeaway, hashtag it 7 Mile Miracle. Share this video. We love to hear how God is using 7 at 7 to meet you right where you're at and help you in your journey with Him. Thank you for joining with us this morning. Can't wait to see you back tomorrow.